Welcome to Night Dreams Talk Radio, where we cover the latest news on UAPs, aliens, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the great mysteries of the unknown. Hosted by Gary Anderson, this show goes deep into the paranormal, asking all the questions we all want answers to. With expert guests and real stories, Gary uncovers the truth behind the unexplained. Be sure to listen and subscribe to join over 148,000 subscribers tuning in nightly for the most intriguing paranormal talk.
Join Night Dreams Talk Radio and support the show for just 99 cents a month. Unlock exclusive content and help us dive deeper into the paranormal mysteries you love.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's Talk Show Radio, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair, because Gary's talking to you at night.
Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network Newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with the Strange News. Family screams in terror as ghost rocks chair in the middle of nowhere holiday home. The strange paranormal activity happened after Conde Raggianti and his relatives visited a country house in the middle of nowhere. It spooked them out when a rocking chair began moving on its own. Of course, they taped it and put it on the internet. Not everyone, however, was convinced the events had a supernatural explanation. Marcello suggested, quote, "Someone's moving the chair behind the open window with a fishing line," close quote. And Lou asked, could it be because the window is open and the wind is pushing the chair? More than a few netizens were just a bit confused by the clip. Julietta asked, was there a man with a child at the door? Or are those also ghosts? We'll stay on the story no matter how much it costs. I'm Guy Ticker. The Strange News is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us. And for all the latest news, go to nightdreamstalkradio.com. You have just crossed into the realm of the unknown, where the unexplained meets reality. From UFOs to Bigfoot, from the acutely strange to the wildly wacky, and everything in between, this is your gateway to alternative talk radio. Welcome to Night Dreams Talk Radio with your host, the legend himself, Gary Anderson.
And we are back. This week, JC, is really crammed with some great shows. Who do we have on tomorrow and who do we have on Friday?
Well, tomorrow we have Dr. John Brady on, and he's going to be talking about the RFK and the JFK conspiracy. So that's going to be a good one. He actually worked a case 40 years ago in the RFK. Also, on Friday, we have Lou Elizondo coming on. He's the #1 best-selling author with Eminent. He's going to be good. But it's going to be a good show. You don't want to miss that one. Then after him is going to be Glenn Steckling coming on. So that's going to be got a good shows coming up.
Oh, we do. And you know, one thing, do not try to make a pet with a raccoon. And the reason why I'm saying this, JC, there was a lady not far from where I live, maybe about 15, 20 miles in Poles Bowl, Washington. A couple of years ago, she had noticed she had some raccoons on her property, and she would invite him up on her porch and she would feed him. And occasionally she would let him come in the house with her cats and they would, roam around her house. Well, it started getting out of control. She went on vacation for a week. She came back, and then she went really crazy when she opened her door. Over 100 raccoons were inside of her house.
They turned that into a regular resort. I could just imagine it. You know what? Better that than bears, but I don't know. It still sounds like a problem. All them raccoons that ruin your home.
Well, yeah, tear it up. I don't know which is worse, though. Would you like to come home and have a bear in your bedroom? Remember that one? Yeah, I think it was in Montana back a couple years ago. That a couple went out for dinner and some drinks and a movie. They come home and they heard a noise out of their bedroom. So they go to their bedroom and they figure maybe somebody broke in. And here was a bear all passed out in their bed. Top it off, he was so upset after they got the bear out of the house. I don't know how they did it. Then they realized that their kitchen was tore apart. The bear went into their refrigerator and drank all his beer.
Yeah, nothing worse than a hungover beer in your bed and you disturb them when you come home. Oh, my goodness.
Could you imagine, though, if he would have worked at night and she would have been maybe gone and him coming home and crawling into that bed and realize, honey, where did you get all this hair?
Yeah, did you forget to shave tonight?
Yeah, everywhere. The Pentagon is illegally hiding secrets about the UFO program from Congress. Now, this is, again, it's out in the news. A whistleblower came forward and alleges that the government knows this is real, but they're not letting Congress know the real truth.
Yeah, we all suspected that anyway. And I did see that today, and I'm surprised it actually hit the airways. And you know what? That's the tip of the iceberg of what's going on, really.
Well, it's really scary. Are we ever going to be told the truth? That's the whole point. If you have a government, any government, they all lie because they can't tell national security. Everything's national security, right?
Yeah. Good point. Anything they want hushed up, they just stamp that on it, and that covers like a big umbrella. It's the hearsay for everything. With these aliens and these UFOs, there's got to be an AI connection to that too. You'd think.
Well, you never know. In fact, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. Is it going to be good? Which I really see it has some benefits. I know it has really benefited this show. But I can see some other things that, if it's handled wrong, it could be really scary. Let's find out who our guest is. What do you think, JC?
Yeah, let's do.
Okay.
Matthew James Bailey is an internationally recognized authority in the Internet of Things, innovation, smart cities, and artificial intelligence. His extraordinary leadership is widely acknowledged throughout governments and the private sector. He is a sought-after advisor and keynote speaker. Bailey has been privileged to meet famous global leaders such as Steve Wozniak, innovation and technology, Sir David Attenborough, the environment, Professor Stephen Hawking, theoretical physicist and cosmologist. In addition, he's met prime ministers, ministers, under-secretaries of G7 countries, and many more. Originally from England, Matthew James Bailey currently lives in the United States, where he enjoys writing and consulting globally with clients in the public and private sectors. He is co-chair of a national artificial intelligence smart city supercomputing cluster that's part of the Global City Teams Challenge. He is the global ambassador for an artificial intelligence innovation district for a medical technology city in Mwale, Kenya. He also serves on the board of an artificial intelligence startup, Smarter.AI. His websites include inventingworld3.com and aiethics.world.
Well, Matthew, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
Well, I'm alive, and I tell you, if I wasn't alive, we wouldn't be doing the interview. What got you interested in AI?
Yeah, it's a great question. By the way, I hope there's no raccoons in your studio.
Well, no. How about two Great Danes and a German Shepherd?
Oh, that's much better. Friendly folks.
If they know you.
Yeah, the bio you read out is pretty old, actually. I don't know where you got that from, but that's an interesting one. But I appreciate it. My background's in technology. I did 2 degrees, one in England, one in France, in software engineering. And software was always a passion of mine. I found this ability to be able to communicate and program computers to do extraordinary things. And I wrote my first AI algorithm in 1996. And that was for electric vehicles. That's when I was in Cambridge, United Kingdom. And that was when I first came into artificial intelligence. And I've run huge teams, software teams around the world, doing very complicated intelligence-centric systems. And it was about 13 years ago that I recognized that leadership was needed in these digital revolutions that were happening. So I kind of, by the way, Gary, are you okay with esoteric wisdom, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I did something dangerous about 13 years ago, Gary, and I went into nature and I said to the universe, show me who I am. Have you ever done anything like that?
Well, what I do is I go out and meditate and look at the sky, and especially at night.
That's beautiful. That feeling of oneness with everything is remarkable, isn't it?
It is.
So it's about part of my spiritual awakening, and the guidance clearly said, first of all, start off with something called the Internet of Things, which is basically the digital world understanding the physical world. And then I moved into smart cities, which is a digital world understanding culture and performance and increasing the experience within cities. But the destiny was always artificial intelligence, and I had to wait 10 years to step into that global leadership. And so so that was in 2019. I was on a retreat in Crestone in Colorado, which is a well-known spiritual center, and where I'm speaking from right now, actually. And I got clear guidance around this need to bring ethics into artificial intelligence and to bring an evolutionary context into artificial intelligence to assist humanity to leap into something magnificent that the universe has got lined up for us. So I wrote my first book, InventingWorld3.com, and Inventing World 3, Evolutionary Ethics for AI. And then basically I've done, I've sat down with G7 countries, I've advised them on AI, I've done a lot in artificial intelligence. I was a visiting scholar to NASA, where we collaborated on some of the ethical AI inventions that I put together. And my focus today is very much around bringing enlightenment and spiritual wisdom into artificial intelligence, and very much protecting us from the transhumanist futures where biology merges with machines. I understand that the universe is unpacking another layer of intelligence for the organic design, and we want to protect that in order for us to really enter into a new era on planet Earth.
But can that actually be done? Because you know how world governments are going to look at AI as a new tool that, again, I don't know if you ever remember the movie was made in the early 70s, mid 70s called War Games.
Oh, I may have watched that a very long time ago. It kind of rings a bell, Gary.
Yeah, basically a kid was playing chess with a computer that he, dialed up on, and it was actually a computer that was used for the defense, which controlled like the nuclear missiles.
Yes. Yeah, I remember now. That's a pretty frightening scenario, isn't it? Yes. So we can go anywhere with artificial intelligence. But effectively, where we are today, the 3 ages of artificial intelligence, Gary, that's generally understood. The first age is what we call narrow artificial intelligence, which is kind of where we've been for quite a while now, which is where AI can do, and machine learning can do a single task. So when you speak to your phone using natural language processing, that's a single task. It understands your voice, communicates with the digital world, and then plays your favorite song or books your hotel or buys flowers for your wife or whatever it may be, right? Single task things, right? When you're overtaking in a car and you've got that indicator on the side of your wing mirror, and the orange light comes on, that's using video to actually recognize where it's safe to overtake or not, and there's a vehicle next to you. So there's hundreds of thousands of applications where it's good at a single task. What's interesting now, Gary, is, and that took about I don't know, since the iPhone. So when was the iPhone? 90s?
Yeah.
Late 90s, early 2000s. That took 20 years, about 20 years to evolve. We're about to enter into the age of general intelligence, and that is where AI is able to do many tasks at the same time. It kind of achieves about 75% of the brain capability, and that will only take 5 years. So artificial intelligence is growing much, much faster, and it's evolving faster because we have more compute and we have more data, and the mathematics within these neural networks are developing. And then the third age of AI, Gary, is what we call the technology singularity, where artificial intelligence achieves super IQ and is able to keep on evolving and programming itself to keep on going beyond the brain capability.
That's where it gets scary.
Right. Well, right. And we can talk about super AI and the technology singularity. And that's predicted to be about 20 years out from now, because that's a huge advancement in maths.
Well, I was reading a science journal fact today. By 2029, a lot of scientists are actually thinking that is where the turning point is, where AI could actually might be developing a life form of its own.
Right. So we need to go into anthropology. And the reason for that is today AI is a tool, right? So your listeners and yourself, you use things like ChatGPT or Claude AI. You might use Llama from Meta. You might use Gemini from Google, or Grok from Elon. There's a lot of these large language models out there. And they're making huge advances in biology. Listen to this. There's a company that ran 500 million years of biological evolution in just a few weeks. Can you imagine that?
That is really scary. How long would it take humans to do that?
Right, exactly, right. We're a bit slower, right?
A lot slower than that.
So artificial intelligence, even in this age of narrow AI at the moment, as we move into AGI and it starts to be able to reason, it starts to be able to do goal setting, knowledge transfer, the things that we can do in our brain, then effectively it's accelerating in its capability, but also crossing into physics, into material science, into medicine, into many, into sports. It's basically going to cross into all domains of society. And this is why it's important that we put ethics and morality and a foundation of ethics and morality encoded within artificial intelligence beyond Asimov's laws. So its foundation is fundamentally ethical. So as it evolves, it remains fundamentally ethical. And, I'm sad to say the AI industry is simply not doing this today, Gary, and it's quite troubling.
It's really scary. And, back here about a half a year ago, I had a TV movie producer on who also owns a huge real estate empire. And with his empire, they used to have, actors, for their commercials that you see on cable channels and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he doesn't use humans anymore. It's all AI generated. And I've seen some of his commercials, and you have to really watch it to realize, if you're just a little tired, you would not realize it was AI. And but here's the thing. This is now the fourth time in a month. I am a night owl. I'm up to like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I was watching I'm not going to mention the cables, but I was watching a movie. I was into that movie last night, 10 minutes before I realized this movie, like I said before, is off. Then I realized it was not humans. It was all AI generated. Because there was little legs. It was a dead giveaway. I just thought maybe it was lagging. The internet was lagging. That is scary because, the Actors Guild, the Writers Guild went on strike because they're worried about AI, replacing writers and actors. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine Clark Gable, this famous star Gone from the Wind, being brought back, or John Wayne?
Well, they're already bringing back actors that have passed away. We've already seen that. And did you see that James Cameron, the famous film director, Avatar, and many other, Terminator, basically has joined Stability AI, one of the leading AI companies. And their focus is on basically AI-generated content for movies. And so the whole film industry itself, it's a bit like the music industry around copyright law, right? There's a whole kind of transformation that's happening for the film industry. And I'll give people a couple of bits of advice to tell what is AI generated and not AI generated. The first thing is trust your intuition, because your intuition is a powerful intelligence, right? The second thing is look for the hands. Look for the hands, because the hands, they always make a mistake on the hands. So it's a bit like in a dream, right? When you're in a dream, right, just to know you're in a dream, try and find your hands, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, how about the feet? How about your feet if you have to run to the little boys' room in the middle of the night?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the short clips that are coming through OpenAI, through Sora, Meta have announced an AI movie generator. There's a Chinese company, I can't remember them, but they've also got some really good short clip generators. And these are remarkable. All you do is type in a few lines of text prompts, and bang, you've got real live, what feels to be real live footage, and it's really quite remarkable. But I think what will happen, Gary, is this. I think the value of human creation will have more worth. I think people will pay more money to go and see a human-centric, a real authentic human type of movie, rather than seeing all this AI-generated movies. I think we'll have two tiers of types of movies that people will choose. And I think it's a bit like art, right? Is that there's something special about a Van Gogh, there's something special about a Renoir that AI will never be able to generate, because we are vibrational intelligence creating something. So I think human-created art, whether it's film or other type things like poetry or whatever, will be of higher value, Gary, in the age of AI.
I think you're right, but how do you foresee AI impacting the job market in the nenext decade? Because I think that's going to really affect it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. So Kai-Fu Lee, who I respect tremendously, he's a huge player in AI. He ran, I think it was either Google or Apple's AI branch in China. Wonderful man. Very, very sensible. Always about AI will never have our compassion. He's right. It will never have our emotional intelligence. He's right. It will never have our creativity. It's right. It will never have those intrinsic human values or human capabilities. And he said recently on stage that, you know, he thinks that the majority of jobs will be displaced in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't think that's right. I think that's an overstep. But what we will see is artificial intelligence start to do kind of mundane, let me just rephrase that, simple tasks. So, for example, your tax accountant will probably be replaced by an AI, right? Maybe the management of traffic lights and managing of traffic on the streets will be run by AI, right? Some of the tasks that can be very, very simple in business, for example, creating spreadsheets for customers or creating project plans and things like that, we'll start to see AI enter business as a partner doing some of those tasks. So it will displace many, many jobs. It will take a long time, right?
No, I'm going to jump in here, though. Matthew,
Sure.
my voiceover actor, who is one of the top ones in the United States, you know, here's the problem that he's facing is now AI is starting to replace voiceover actors. How do you compete against AI that can replicate anybody's voice? And now, in the last year, it has advanced so hard. Even when you hear it, it is like you're thinking you're now hearing an actual person.
Yeah, so Will.i.am has launched a music portal where artists can actually license their AI voice, and the AI voice can then be licensed to create music using that artist's voice. So Will.i.am is very much a pioneer of technology and a wonderful artist. And so, you know, what we need is basically copyright over the voice. Can you believe that? We need to copyright voice now.
Yeah.
And when we look at film actors, did you read about Scarlett Johansson and OpenAI? Did you read about that?
No, I did not.
Right. So basically, OpenAI approached Scarlett Johansson for her to be the voice of their new large language model 4.0, for her to be the voice because it's voice interactive. And she said no. So what they did was they found someone that was very similar to Scarlett Johansson, sounded exactly like her. And so it's a huge ethical question is that, in principle, Scarlett Johansson owns the voice of Scarlett Johansson, but they went off somewhere else and licensed someone else's voice that was identical to Scarlett Johansson. So there's all sorts of ethical questions around this ownership of voice, acting voices, acting faces, acting personas, so it's a huge copyright discussion that needs to be had, and I can understand why the film industry is concerned.
Well, it's going to be a lot of lawsuits. It's already starting to file now that people are filing, family members, like Clark Gable, John Wayne, because people are using their voice and their images. That's the scary part. And
I agree. What I really like is that it now makes everybody to be a filmmaker, right? So if you want to create family memories and create stories around your family, you can do that. And so you can create a movie around your family. And I find that a beautiful thing. But the internet will get absolutely overwhelmed with nonsense AI movies, scams, and all sorts of deep fakes, which we can talk about. We're about to get flooded with all sorts of different types of AI content, and TikTok. We need to learn how to navigate it.
I just said TikTok. You go on there. It's all a bunch of, you don't even know what you're watching. Hey, Matthew, we need to take this break, and we'll come back in about 3 minutes. We're going to talk more about the good side of AI and the dangers of AI with Matthew, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Time slips. A haunted office building on a haunted street. A haunted coal town. Mysterious black cats. Unexplained light anomalies. UFOs, UAPs in the air and on the ground. Bridges in liminal spaces. Cryptids, shamans, and a werewolf. Disclosure. You don't need a ranch in Utah. All this and more happens in rural southwestern Pennsylvania. Coming soon from Haunted Hills and Hollows 1 and 2 author Kevin Paul, Politics and the Paranormal in Greene County, Pennsylvania. Available this fall on Amazon and at other fine booksellers. Welcome to Night Dreams Talk Radio with the legendary Gary Anderson. From UFOs to Bigfoot and everything in between, we explore the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Join us for one of the fastest growing shows in the world of the unknown.
And we are back with Matthew. That's the whole point about artificial intelligence. Like I said, I use it all the time, and it has been, saves me a lot of work. But I am still really worried about the dangers, everything from surveillance to, protecting yourself from AI.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable position, actually. I think we need to be careful. We need to ensure we honor the foundational principles of the United States Constitution, which is about freedom to thrive, right? It's about sovereignty, right? And but if we look at China, which is very different, which we were talking about earlier, Gary, we were talking about the fact that they're using AI to recognize people's faces. They can recognize the way they walk. Effectively, it's a monitoring state. It truly is Orwellian, right? And we don't want that in the United States, because that is, the Constitution talks about freedom, right? Which is really important, right? Okay. So the dangers of artificial intelligence, let's list a few, shall we? So there's a huge discussion at the moment called AI safety. Have you been following any of that, Gary?
Oh, yes, I have.
Right. And so there was a big summit in the United Kingdom. Elon showed up speaking to the then Prime Minister Sunak and talking about AI safety. And in the United States, there's a NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, have announced an AI safety testing mechanism that OpenAI and I think Anthropic have signed up for. Now, one of the things, in AI safety, they're primarily focused on AI not destroying society, not to invade society and individual rights. They're looking at fundamental existential questions like that, as well as actually looking at things like, stay away from the nuclear button, quite frankly, right? Because that's important.
Well, what happens if the AI decides to push the button itself and saying, hey, humanity is turned into a virus?
Well, we need to make sure there's no electronics or any kind of communication to the final button, right? otherwise, it could be smart to do that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're going back to war games now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a huge AI safety approach, and I did a film. I got an award for it, a short film I did in 2020 around a digital citizen test for artificial intelligence, where basically a bit like we have legal immigration, and you have to go through a citizen test to join and become a legal citizen in the United States. Well, artificial intelligence should go through a citizen test, which ensures it applies to the Constitution, it understands laws and regulation in order for it to be deployed in national borders. So we move from machine chaos, which we have today, into machine order, and AI becomes a good citizen. So if we don't start to do testing around artificial intelligence, then it could literally run away exponentially and, do something that we just haven't been able to measure or test. So we need to do more testing. And Geoffrey Hinton, who won a Nobel Prize recently, right? Geoffrey Hinton, who was one of the fathers of AI, he's the one that advanced neural net technology, which is all these large language models are developed on. And he went through 2 AI winters believing in this neural net architecture, which is changing the world. He basically says that government should ensure that 30% of all computing power that's used in artificial intelligence should be dedicated to AI safety testing. And I think he's right. But there's some more fundamental dangers around artificial intelligence. If we want to be geeky for a second, it's important that encryption moves into quantum encryption so that AI cannot be hacked by a malicious actor and then used to bring down, for example, the grids in the United States of America, or to start to violate internal infrastructure. So quantum encryption and AI digital policemen around the borders of the United States to protect its physical and digital infrastructure is really important. And I wrote about this in the first book.
Yeah, but could it still not be hacked?
Well, so the US is one of the leaders in quantum encryption. In fact, the US government have invested a huge amount of dollars into quantum encryption, because with the rise of quantum computing, then you can start to basically develop algorithms that simply take years, if not decades, to basically encrypt with standard traditional silicon computing. So encryption is a fundamental part of AI safety because it protects artificial intelligence itself, by nature protecting the citizens and the future of that country. But the biggest danger, I think, to artificial intelligence is not understanding who we are as a human species, not understanding that we are part of a universal design, a universal intelligence, a universal consciousness, and innovating from that place of benevolence for the species, this AI species that's evolving, to partner with the evolutionary journey of organic human and organic life, and not to invade it with a materialistic point of view. So do you understand what I'm saying here? Is that we have to understand the nature of reality and the fundamental nature of intelligence ourselves and who we are, in order for us to truly shepherd and innovate a new digital species. Does that make sense?
It does. And we got a caller, if you don't mind. Let's take this caller and find out his question or hers. Who do we have out there?
This is Tom.
Hey, Tom, you got a question for Matthew?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about AI in many aspects of life. And I know that the Screenwriters Guild and the Actors Guild both went on strike in Hollywood because of the proliferation of AI in being used as songs and movies, et cetera, et cetera. My main question to you is, how much of a danger does it pose to, people like myself who bought a new laptop about 6 months ago, and how many companies are actually getting into the business of protecting us against the downside of AI through our computers?
Good questions, Tom.
That's a great question. Can I ask whether you bought a Microsoft-based computer or an Apple computer?
Mine is Microsoft-based.
Okay. Well, here's my view. If it's possible to take it back and exchange it and get an Apple computer, I would do that. And let me explain why. Is that Microsoft, and I don't know whether they've taken this feature out, but there was a feature that they were installing in all their operating systems where they take snapshots of you on a regular basis and listen to your voice on a regular basis and start to organize your files and invade your privacy on a regular basis. Now, I'm not sure whether that's still in play or not. I know there's a lot of ruckus around this. So at a personal level, we have to be prudent. I use the Apple ecosystem because, quite frankly, I think it's the most secure out there, and Apple don't seem to invade your privacy. They seem to protect your privacy. In terms of companies protecting you as an individual, well, I think we need a national voice as citizens. I had a conversation with one of the, let's just say, because I don't want to get political, but one of the administrations over the last 10 years, let's just say. And I spoke to them about going on a tour to talk to the citizens of the United States, to get the voice of the United States people into the ethical quality of artificial intelligence, to address these concerns that you're talking about. And let's just say there was a change of administration and they decided to do it differently. I think that there needs to be a citizen body that is independent, that has power to influence big tech and government policy around protecting ownership of your data, ownership, to protect your sovereignty, to protect your freedom, and honors the Constitution of the United States of America. And that is not in play at the moment. There's a lot of money that's invested from big tech company to lobby the government to avoid these conversations. And I think that if we want an ethical artificial intelligence, then data has to be ethical. Your sovereignty has to be protected as part of that ethical quality.
And I'm telling people right now,
go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Don't go on TikTok. I'm just telling you that if you want to lose your rights, they're going to steal. If you have any content, it's going to be all over it, and it's going to be modified.
Yeah, we use TikTok. My digital team use TikTok, and we haven't had any harm come. But with the Microsoft system that you have, will have their AI assistant, their co-pilot installed, and that can be useful for you to basically do use a large language model to do tasks like recipes and to basically give you ideas around vacation and things like that. But you have to check to make sure it's not looking at your data, it's not looking at your files, and is keeping you absolutely private. So the McAfee and the various other virus checkers that you have installed on your computer won't be protecting you from this. And I think you've identified a gap in the market, actually. So thank you for that question.
Tom, that was a real good question. Here in Washington State, about a year ago, there was a murder trial where a guy shot and killed somebody. They had a camera, surveillance. But it wasn't very, it was kind of grainy. So the clerk of the court figured, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to clean it up with AI. And it has a good part and a bad part. The judge had to throw the whole case out where the guy walked away. Clearly, he murdered somebody. They had it on film or video, but the guy cleaned it up and modified it with AI. And the judge said, I can't accept this now. So they had no evidence.
Yeah, there's a whole transformation that's going to happen around law, around how artificial intelligence can and cannot be used in cases. There's even, I've seen reports of people using AI as their lawyer representative in court. Gary.
Yeah, isn't that scary?
And actually it doesn't do too bad. But it's not as good as a proper lawyer, right? Because there's a human element to it all, right? So when we look at the whole legal, the whole kind of criminal system, that there's AI can be very useful to ensure that that the law's being applied fairly to everyone, regardless of their background. Takes into account compassion and and circumstances that might be unique to the individual to truly understand what's going on and the motive. So I think that artificial intelligence can be a positive thing in the criminal system, but the key thing is that that there's a whole new legislation that needs to be done, Gary, around how AI fits into the criminal justice system and where it can't be used, right?
Not just in the criminal, but I'm talking the government needs to, put some regulations regulating AI, the development of AI, and what it's going to be used for.
Yeah, so California passed an act recently. Did you see that? They passed it a couple of weeks ago. It's very soft. It has no teeth. It's kind of saying, well, we'd like companies to do this testing and we'd like companies to do that. And if they cause, what is it? It's a huge amount of number. It's like $500 million worth of damage, then they can be sued. And it's like, that's crazy. So, it's a toothless law. It's a toothless law. And we do need regulation. This is why I propose a digital citizen test for artificial intelligence, because that would be part of a regulatory framework. And people say that regulation will stifle innovation. But, when we fitted seatbelts to cars, car sales went through the roof because they trusted it was safe to drive. And so I think we do need regulation. And the question is, who's going to enforce that? And basically, what are the tests to ensure that AI is safe to actually deploy? So regulation, I think, will be a positive and imperative case in this, because as I said earlier, AI is evolving very rapidly over the next 5 years into this general intelligence, which is an AI that will just blow our minds in terms of its capabilities. It will be able to do everything any person on the planet can do in terms of the brain capabilities. It's going to be remarkable. So regulation is really important. The European Union have passed the AI Act, which is an attempt to regulate artificial intelligence. So we're seeing governments and regions trying to do this, but the problem is that regulation, it's too slow. The political process is too slow. And so what I proposed is we actually put regulation inside artificial intelligence where we can monitor and measure, if you like, the health quality of artificial intelligence as it's evolving and being deployed in products. So we have some internal insight into the quality of artificial intelligence.
Well, we need that even in the medical field. I was talking to my doctor here about a month ago that even the medical field is using AI now to diagnose and all that. And again, you know, like, I don't know. I think it has a lot of value for that. But then again, I'm just wondering where it's going to go in the future. Not in 2029, but how about in the next 30, 40, 50 years? Is it going to come to a point where AI is going to say, hey, we have just as much right to exist as humanity does?
So that's a really good question. Let me just address the first question. When someone goes to visit their doctor, just talking about their condition makes them feel in a better condition, and AI will never do that. It's a compassionate conversation, which should be anyway. And so the uniqueness of the human in that conversation with the doctor is something that AI will never be able to do. Now, when it comes to AI logistics management in hospitals, can be brilliant. Looking at X-rays and identifying various areas that a radiologist may miss, excellent. When we're using AI to look for new medicines to address serious health conditions, can be excellent, right? So it can be beneficial. But when we move into superintelligence, Gary, which is what you're talking about, and it'll be about 2045, according to Ray Kurzweil, and I think he's right, then we're looking at an intelligence that literally is beyond anything the brain can do. And, you know, Elon Musk is building this global digital mind. It is going to happen. OpenAI and Microsoft are building this global digital mind. We are building this global digital mind. And so the question is, what's the purpose? Why are we doing this? And what's the purpose of that digital mind? Is it, as some people think, where we have AI chips and everybody's connected to the global digital mind? Well, then we're looking at Project Bluebeam, where you can hijack the whole kind of whole of humanity and start to put them into a controlled narrative. Well, we don't want that. So I think this whole idea of using a superintelligence that our humans connect into, I think is idiocracy. I think human evolution is going to move into something interesting because the universe hasn't finished creating with us. So there's these big questions. Will we use super AI to look at democracy and actually bring democracy into a new level of thriving? Will we use super AI to return our world from systems of scarcity into systems of abundance? Do we have the courage to move from the status quo, which isn't working, into a new thriving quo? Just how far will we allow this super intelligence to truly take our species into a new era of thriving and into a new era of abundance? And so these are some of the questions we need to ask right now, because it goes to the fundamental understanding. Do you think that we are alone in the universe and we basically are a fluke? Or are we part of an intelligent design? And if we understand we're part of a universal consciousness and a universal intelligence, then we can unlock the keys to inventing a benevolent super AI that walks with us and partners with us and doesn't invade and control the evolutionary future of our species.
I just hope that can happen. You know, again, going back to the medical field, do you know right now insurance companies use AI to basically figure out, well, this person is not worth the money for that operation or for whatever they have to go for treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes the decision like basically life and death for people right now. AI is doing that. And that's the scary part right there.
Yeah, so that violates the current administration's AI 5 mandates for artificial intelligence. That violates it. If that practice is in play, that violates what the U.S. government has passed as policy for artificial intelligence. So that's really troubling. BlackRock have one of the most powerful AIs called Aladdin in the world, and they've been controlling the house prices, the rental prices across not just the United States, but across other territories in the world. They have more assets than literally the United States of America, I think. And so effectively AI is being used to control, if you like, the various markets that we as citizens participate in, such as housing markets or rental markets. AI is being used to control that pricing and the market itself. And I don't think that is an ethical thing to do, to be honest.
I sure don't.
Yeah.
What do you think we can do as the general population about AI? What can we do to get more we need, like I said, government regulation on this, what they can and can't do. But let's be honest with you. Whatever the government's doing with AI, we don't even have the foggiest idea. Mm-hmm. That's the scary part.
Yeah, so I'm sure the various security services and the military services are using artificial intelligence. We know that they're using it in drones, they're using it and looking at kind of augmented humans and using AI. Israel announced an AI tank. Actually, I think it was earlier this year, right? Remarkable design. This AI tank is just phenomenal, right? I mean, it's really kind of quite incredible what the technology to do. So I think one of the things I do is an advocate. I spend a lot of time speaking to the general public, like this conversation, Gary. We talk about these conversations, and then I bring an enlightenment discussion to them so they have information, so they can talk to their politicians, talk to their families, even talk to their businesses, and basically become advocates for our future. Because I think the American people need a voice in the future, for our future in AI. I think that is mandatory. And one of the things I proposed in my first book on AI was a national referendum, Gary. What do you think about that? If we had a national referendum where the US citizens could vote on how they wanted AI to be in society, what do you think about that idea?
I think in the future we're going to need that. I really do.
Yeah, I think it's going to come, and many of the predictions in the book have come true, actually, and there's a lot more innovations in there the AI industry will have to adopt, I sense, as we go forward, facing these challenges and facing these dilemmas. So as citizens, obviously, AI is really groovy. Play with ChatGPT, play with Claude. It's fantastic, right? It'll write your business plans, it'll write poetry for your loved one. I mean, it can write film scripts, it's books, it's wonderful, right? And I use mainly ChatGPT and Claude. I'm starting to use Grok a little bit more to assist with very complicated theses around the universe, the nature of reality, and also around what my next book's going to be in artificial intelligence. And I find it very useful because it can make sense of my kind of deep thinking, if you will. So,
but here's the point. Really like I mentioned, for one on the air, you have to really word it right to get the right type of answers back. Otherwise, you can get gibberish. So it took me a while, like with chat, to realize how to ask the logical questions to it to get the right type of answers I needed.
Yeah, you have to get experience with it, and you can program personas. So I don't know whether you're aware, Gary, but at Contact in the Desert this year, myself and a guy called Tim Fraser, we did a world first in artificial intelligence, which is the new Turing test. Now, for those that don't know what the Turing test, Alan Turing, a wonderful, wonderful genius, one of the founding fathers of AI, wrote a paper called the Turing test, and it's known as the imitation game. And basically, imagine that you are a questioner, and behind a curtain is a human and an AI, and you don't know which one's which. And you ask a series of questions to both candidates, and you can't tell which is the human and which is the AI, at which point then AI has passed the Turing test. And there's no AI today that has passed the Turing test. So what we did, which is a world first, we did a number of things. First of all is that I looked at 8 areas of the brain capabilities and wrote a series of questions, and I included an ethical and spiritual dimension to the Turing test its ethical and spiritual qualities. And we did it in the public, and this is never done in the public. We did it in front of the public as a game show. So we had a team human and a team AI, and the general public did not know which was team human and which was team AI, and they had a voting app. And so we asked questions and each team responded, and then the audience voted. And we also had people dial in across the United States to actually participate in this game show. And the outcome, and people can download the report for free off inventingworld3.com. It's a great report. And what we found was 66% of the audience naturally knew which is human and which is AI. And so team human won. 66% against 33%. And so what we're doing is we're bringing artificial intelligence into the public domain for the public to experience these types of methodologies in artificial intelligence and for them to have a voice in that.
That is really great. That is. Now, you have a couple books. Boy, our time went by so fast. You know that. You got a couple books. Can you share the name of the books, how they can find it, and if you have a website?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. So inventingworld3.com is the website, inventingworld3.com. The first book people can buy called Inventing World, I don't know if you can see that on camera, Inventing World 3.0,
yes,
Evolution, Ethics, AI. The next book I'm writing, which will be published in the summer next year, is called AI and Our Divine Spark. And I'm going to uncover the blueprints of the universe, the blueprints of intelligence, and basically I'm interviewing worldwide spiritual institutes and enlightened pioneers to uncover principles of enlightenment to encode into artificial intelligence so it becomes enlightened. And people can pre-order that now. I do a monthly class for people to come along who pre-purchase the book. And this is about remembering our magnificence in intelligent design, to remember that we are magnificently created, and for humanity not to rush into this transhumanist future and to not connect ourselves to the global digital mind. And I explore both scenarios. So I look at 2 stages in human evolution, what I call Homo lucidus, which is the enlightened human, which is this metaphysical vibrational human, and also Homo hybris, which is the transhumanist human connected to the global digital mind. So people can pre-order that book, AI and Our Divine Spark.
Everybody, check out his website. Hey, Matthew, I want to thank you so much for coming on. You know, you really answered some questions I had on AI. I'm sure you did for some of the listeners, too.
Thanks very much for having me, Gary. It's a shame it's such a short time.
Well, maybe we need to get you back on and we can go more in depth to it.
That sounds fun to me. And by the way, stay away from raccoons.
Yeah, believe me. Okay, my friend, you take care.
Namaste. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Well, JC, again, who's our guest tomorrow? What are we going to be talking about tomorrow?
Our guest tomorrow is going to be Dr. John Brady. And he's going to be talking about the RFK conspiracy and the JFK conspiracy. Actually did the case 40 years ago on the RFK, so that's going to be good stuff. And then Friday we got Lou Elizondo coming on talking about his book. And, of course, you know, he was into the UFO world, and he still is pretty heavy.
Yeah, we're going to find out a little bit more. Of course, again, there's going to be stuff he's not going to be able to answer, but we're going to find out about, you know, well, disclosure. The lack of disclosure. What is going on? Are these UAPs, flying saucers, flying discs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, flying hubcaps, are they a threat to me and you, or could they be, or we don't even have the foggiest idea? But, you know, let's go back real quick. I think 1952, over Washington, D.C., for a couple days, these flying discs flying over the White House. And what was that? They have never been able to debunk that.
Yeah, oh, that's true. And listen, it was a few days, you're right. And there's pictures of it and everything. So.
Videos of it, or film of it, yes.
Yes. Oh, my. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in, and anybody that does support the show. And, keep this in mind. All this week, if you join and pay the $29.99 to help support the show, to help keep us growing, because that's important, we'll send you, that's right, at our expense, even the shipping, a Night Dreams t-shirt and a mouse pad. Just think about it. So you're basically getting the t-shirt and mouse pad, or you're supporting us all for just $29.99. Anyway, till tomorrow, everybody have a good one. And again, I hope you enjoyed the bumper music tonight with George Harrison. We're actually even bringing on better music. Again, that costs a lot of money. Well, to tomorrow, everybody have a good one. We'll catch you on the other side.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail.